Good morning on Monday, the 9th of December 2024. It's 8 a.m. in the Gambia and therefore coffee time on West Coast Radio with me, Peter Gomez. And Coffee Time is brought to you in association with partners led by WAVE, the U.S. Poultry and Egg Council and Gam Food Trading, Easy Financial Services, Staff Africa Global, Bloombank Africa, Global Properties, and the Gambia Experience.
Did you know service plots are now available at Baki? Welcome to Baki, Taft City's fourth residential estate.
Yes, service plots available at Baki with 3 years interest-free payment plan with a minimum deposit of only $94,000, and it will come with fence plot, water reticulation, electricity, solar street lights, and bituminized internal roads. Are you ready to build your dream home for yourself?
Call us now.
And first up in the press review is Gambia Daily. OMVG electricity interconnection line, 99% complete, says Chairman President Barrow. Ministry of Information to come up with government communications policy, information media and broadcasting bill. President Barrow pays tribute to Jawara and former OMVG leaders for legacy. PMO embarks on second phase of civil service staff and pensioners audit. Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy and partners convene forum to discuss Gambia's digital future, and Banjul New Year Festival to begin on December the 24th. The front cover of The Point reads this morning, Banjul has highest HIV infection rate according to UNAIDS. Dabo challenges government to provide sea ambulance to save lives in NBR. GRA soon to start revenue assurance program. 11th OMVG summit ends on high note, and KMC inaugurates multi-million dollar library complex. And the Point's editorial, which every Monday says good morning to the president, reminds him and readers that ending HIV/AIDS will take a collective effort. Now, Foraya's front page. Expelled Tumanjai wins case against PPP. Government mediating UTG crisis. GPU awards outstanding journalists. OMVG leaders sign 3 new conventions. SECOs in URR and CRR still not working amid report of lack of cash. And Foraya's editorial argues incumbency is being defied by voters in Africa. Let's take a look at the front cover of The Voice now. Barrow urges sustenance of OMVG for improved economic performance. ID cards will be issued come January 2025, says GID official. World AIDS Day commemorated in Tanje. GRA learned from Rwanda's successful digital model. Son in custody for alleged murder of biological father. I was removed from KMC's business committee because of my political affiliations, says former councillor. NGBV program officer urges community action as gender-based violence caravan wraps up, and governor of North Bank challenges Department of Forestry to combat charcoal burning. Finally, the Standard, Gambian woman jailed for life in Dubai. Minister says government is neutral in UTG standoff. Dabo says Gambia has useless government, and KMC gets Gambia's first municipal library. And that was your first look at Monday's newspapers. Our thanks to Foraya, The Standard, The Voice, The Point, and The Gambia Daily.
Hello. If I own a business account with Trust Bank, how can I pay salaries to my employees to other banks?
Kindly send us an instruction through your corporate officer, that's your relationship manager. Send the instruction through a hard copy and we will kindly process for you. It is easy, it is simple. We will need few information from you. Each customer's name, the BBAN, and the bank it needs to be sent to. The BBAN should be complete and it should be in 18 digits. Please kindly forward this and then it will be processed the same day and all the funds will be credited in other banks as well. Thank you.
So much to talk about. We might not finish everything that that we want to talk about.
Feel free.
Right now, two of the biggest talking points are around the budget and the draft constitution. Yes. Let me start with the budget. What's your position on the budget? I mean, you were once finance minister of this country. Yes. I mean, so you know how a budget is prepared. You've given budget speeches before. I mean, 53 billion. I mean, 52.9 is just as good as 53 billion dollars.
Yes.
Budget.
Yes. Yes, I have, as you said, an idea or two about budgets as a tool or an instrument for translating government's policies through the mechanism of resource allocation, state resource allocation, in pursuit of the achieving those stated government goals. Well, as a party, we haven't really sat down to take a position on the current draft, which is before Parliament, the current budget. But certainly I've taken enough time on my own to listen a bit to the discussions going on and to read through it and see. I must say that in terms of the broad framework provided by the government stated national policy objectives, which is steady, inclusive economic growth, with the hope that that will lead to improved prosperity. I don't have any quarrel with that. I think that's a right kind of policy objective that a government should have. So I have no quarrel with that. But when you scrutinize the actual allocation proposals, when you scrutinize the actual proposals for allocating resources under the new budget against those stated policy objectives, I see a disconnect. I see a disconnect because, for instance, the growth, in spite of the spin that we hear from governments, multitude of spokespersons, including even the central bank's monetary policy, is that the economy is resilient and that the outlook looks promising. In spite of all that spin, really the situation still remains very fragile, extremely fragile, and that's why the government keeps on talking a lot about GDP growth as opposed to per capita GDP growth, which is the more relevant measurement, really, if you are talking about improving living conditions of the people. The most taunted figure of 5%, 5.7% for GDP growth is the overall GDP in terms of economic activities. But if you talk about the actual GDP capital, per capita GDP, you are still looking at not more than 1 to 2%. And at that rate, many experts have agreed that at that rate of growth, it will take more than a generation for the Gambia to reach the level of what they call middle income level, which is really a legitimate ambition of most developing countries in our situation after so many years of independence and effort at building our economies. So looking at the budget, as I said, this time around, there are serious constraints, even if the government wanted it. First, the minister himself has agreed that debt servicing is already crowding a lot of investments that they need to put into production to grow the economy. Something like, I think they said in the current proposals, 11 billion of this 50-something billion is going to debt servicing, which is more than what would have gone into the investment to fund the investment budget for up to 3 ministries. It didn't say which ministries, but all to show you really how much our development efforts are constrained by the debt burden we have. There is that point. There is also the fact that, as I said, because of underfunding, the sectors which have increased, contributed to productivity and creation of wealth are also constrained because of poor underfunding, historical as well as continuing. So that, in the immediate future, in the next 4 or 5 years, it's a pipe dream to think that agricultural production will rise so dramatically that will make a significant impact. Against all that, really, you find a situation where, in spite of the government's claims that they want to give priority to development, the stock of human capital, inclusive economic growth, you're not going to achieve much of that because the money needed to invest to achieve those objectives are not there. Look at the revenue side. The resource side is mainly revenue that the government can contribute. From revenue that the government can contribute. Now, the country population, people are overtaxed in this country, highly taxed. Sales tax here, VAT here, all manner of taxes. One of the heaviest taxes. They will tell you that, oh well, it's higher in Angola or it's higher in Mozambique or something, but it doesn't matter. The fact that in relation to what is possible in terms of what they can afford is very high. So I don't see again any likelihood of very rapid increase in the revenue we get from the domestic revenue. Of course, yes, government is making the right noises saying that they want to broaden the tax base, which is right, but we have to see that take place. It has been said for the past 2-3 years, we haven't really seen much of it. It's still flogging the same people by all manner of taxes, direct and indirect taxes. So, this is a budget which, as I said, it articulates very lofty policy objectives, but unfortunately, the resources are not there, and the way they are allocated also doesn't indicate that there's a sincerity in that stated policy objective. Even internally, the internal allocation of resources, you still have a lot of things happening that are a distortion. If you really want to improve, bring about inclusive growth, if you want to bring about development of human capital, social services, well, look at the actual allocations. A disproportionate amount is spent on sectors away from those. It's defense here, foreign affairs here, huge president's office here. Those are all really, a kind of whittling down the capacity that the budget and the economy has for contributing to its own productivity to draw the country out of the present problems. It's a very difficult situation. I don't quarrel with the stated objectives, but I don't think they will be attained.
Okay. Yeah. And what about the draft constitution?
Well, that is another, unfortunately, difficult issue which the government, the manner in which the government has been handling it has rushed the country into an unnecessary crisis. Firstly, in terms of the process for making a constitution, of course, a government can feel free to draft a constitution and take it to Parliament and say if Parliament approves it and go through referendum if that's required. But increasingly, the route most governments take is to have a consultative process whereby citizens are involved, given the importance of a constitution. It should be a constitution of the people. And this is also the approach that this government took by setting up the CRC, yes. Constitution, CRR. Yeah.
The Constitution Review Committee.
Yes.
Commission,
yes,
CRC.
Yes, who have done what is generally acknowledged a fairly good job, I must say, because they carried out fairly thorough consultations, 2 rounds of consultations, including even Gambians in the diaspora. And what they have come out with, we believe, is a fair reflection, a very strong reflection of the wishes of the people. Now, this kind of constitution, I think, should really have gone to the people themselves to say whether they approve or not. Of course, procedurally, it will still have to go through cabinet to endorse it and take it to parliament, and hopefully parliament pass it. But unfortunately, this was blocked and led to the impasse that we witnessed, led the country to lose 5 years waiting, and now a new constitution is brought. But this time around, by a different route. You see, this time around, it is the government that has brought out a draft, which, as I said, legally, it's in order for them to do. But it lacks the legitimacy that a consultative process, the product of a consultative process like the one that the CRC did, carries. And now we have what some people refuse to call by any name other than government draft or borrowed draft. And unfortunately, from reading of it, many people, including myself and our party, find it very regrettable that it falls far short. It falls far short of what we had wanted. As I said, what we like about the 2020 draft was that it did make proposals which are very much in line with what we believe the situation called for. Coming out of 22 years of very terrible governance, dictatorial system, one major area we want our constitution to focus on is to restore the scope of citizens' rights, which the 2020 draft did go a long way. Not perhaps to the fullest extent possible, but they've gone very, very far. And that was why we supported. Secondly, coming out of a situation which was also characterized by abuses facilitated by over-concentration of power in the center on overbearing executive, we thought a system whereby there will be the checks and balances which a democratic ideal calls for should be reinforced. And they came with very clear, concrete proposals whereby certain number of strategic decisions by the executive, there will be need for confirmation by the oversight and confirmation by. This was also a very positive thing, and some others. We believe that the 2020 draft still fell short in some areas. I will just notably talk about the composition of such institutions like the Independent Electoral Commission. The CRC draft talked about the need to have the members, appointment of members of the commission being confirmed by Parliament, but it didn't talk about the actual membership, how it should be composed. We believe very strongly that, in fact, leaving the initiative of putting up the team to the executive alone is not balanced enough in the present circumstance. We would have preferred a system coming as near as possible to parity, whereby the key political forces, civil society, political opposition, but also the government should nominate, and they should together form it. But anyway, in spite of those weaknesses, we supported the 2020 draft. Unfortunately, the present draft now, the 2024 draft, not only didn't correct what we thought was missing, but it even took out or watered down the necessary confirmation by Parliament. So with all those things in the new draft, unfortunately, a whole controversy has been kicked off, and there is real fear and real concern that Parliament, from what we see, will not rise up to the challenge. I say not rise up to the challenge because parliamentarians are supposed to be parliamentarians of the people, and they are supposed to look at the national interest above partisan considerations. But this is exactly what this parliament has not been doing. It's been exactly what parliament since 1996, since under the former regime, has not been doing. These are situations where parliament has not been given any chance to grow as an institution. Instead, it's left is under the thumb of the executive. So, unfortunately, as the present membership stands, the members that belong to the president's party or the parties in government don't have the required majority to pass it through. So we are very much concerned. We have got our position made that we deplore the process of trying to draft this constitution. Two, that the draft that they have produced has really rolled back a number of very progressive ideas which we had expected. And we were wondering, until recently the Human Rights Commission came with an initiative to try to get what they call a convergence of opinion, to see if we can appeal to parliamentarians to rise up to their responsibility and to suggest a way out of the impasse. Because the noise we are hearing is that there is likelihood that the two blocks that are in the parliament will not agree on the point, and without them coming together consensus, there is no chance of this draft also passing. Are you for the draft passing and then it be worked on later, like some people are suggesting, or just throw everything out? No. This is the suggestion now that is likely to come out of the convergence. They haven't issued their document yet, but I have seen the consultation going on, and we find that interesting. We find that as an interesting approach, if Parliament can be moved to go in that direction, whereby they will table the 2024 bill, which is the only bill available, but then at the appropriate stage, effect the changes that will reflect what I believed they would gather from consulting their constituencies. So we think that will be a good thing. But don't ask me whether I think it will work. I'm not too sure, because as I said, we've been served for the past 8 years is that this parliament really has been anything but an independent institution.
Looking for an establishment where value for money and unrivaled services with admirable turnaround time is guaranteed? The Port of Banjul is the perfect place for you. A vital gateway for trade offering connections to numerous global destinations. With improved infrastructure combined with a flexible tariff, the Port of Banjul remains a vital node in maritime trade. Along with its dedicated workforce, efficient service delivery, technology-inspired innovation, and an impressive record in handling all types of cargo, the Port of Banjul is also widely acknowledged as one of the safest ports on the continent, with no history of piracy. As a major player in the region's maritime trade, accounting for 90% of all imports and exports, we are more than just a transit point, but a vital cog in the global trade sphere. Come experience a hassle-free fast customs clearance inspired by our simplified trade documentation procedures, safe and efficient cargo and vessel handling. The Port of Banjul offers prompt, reliable and value for money service, and customer satisfaction is guaranteed.